So you blink and here you are in your 50s, and then you realize that you really did not focus on saving much of money for your retirement, and you're wondering, can I actually retire in my 60s, which is 10 years away? And here I am to tell you that you absolutely can, and I have 5 actionable ways to help you do just that. So here's the traditional approach to kind of getting this all figured out. You're going to be working for about 40 years, and during those 40 years, you should be saving 10% of what you make, and then you're going to be putting it in the risk-appropriate investments, and then right around 65-ish or so, you probably are going to retire, and then the goal is to use those investments that you saved, plus your Social Security, plus your pension if you're lucky, and you should be able to live on about, 70% of your pre-retirement income, right? Kind of like that's the general idea. And here is a big if that I want you to think about. If you were a mom and you had to stay at home with your kids, you weren't able to save. That's one point. Another point is if you were not making a lot of money in the first place and you just couldn't afford to save, then what? And now you are about 10 years away and you are sitting there and you're kind of like scratching your head and you're wondering, can I still do that? Can I still make it happen and enjoy my retirement where I'm going to spending about a third of my life in my golden years? I am here to tell you that you absolutely can do that, and what it's going to take are some significant changes, discipline, and focus. So let's dive in and unpack each of these items. Point number 1 is all about saving. And here's what I want you to take away from this video. One of the most important points is this. It's not how much you make, but how much you save. There were plenty of studies that were done that showed people that were making under $50,000 a year were able to save quite a bit of their money, and then they were able to retire comfortably. So think about that as you're making your plans. I invite you to think now and live strategically as if you are already getting ready to retire. You get to test drive and figure out what that looks like now. Some of the ideas that I have for you are driving a used car, living frugally, buying inexpensive clothes, overall living strategically. So here's a fact. If you are spending 100% of what you make, which means living paycheck to paycheck, you're never going to be able to retire. If you are able to save 50% of your income, you should be able to retire roughly in about 16 years. So here's the goal. The goal is to try to get that percentage as high as possible because you guys have a plan of doing it in 10 years. Another great goal to have is to live on one salary and save the other salary away strategically. You've seen and heard these sayings that rich stay rich by living modestly and poor stay where they are by showing off all of their spending. Point number 2 is let's talk about cutting down on your spending. Make sure that you are living below your means. Another point that I want to focus on here is your housing, because housing is the biggest expense that we have in our necessary expenses. How can we do that? You can downsize into a smaller home. If you live in a big house, downsize to a condo or maybe a townhome. Another option is what's called house hacking, which is what real estate investors may start out with, where you actually rent out rooms in your bigger home, kind of like an Airbnb style, where you do it by the day or by the week. Now, just make sure that your township is going to allow short-term rentals because there are rules for that. Another great option is to go from a single family home into a multi-family living, where you live in one unit and then you purchase, let's say, a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex, and then you can rent out the other units to get your income going. This is a great way most of the time to have your tenants cover most of your living expenses, which would include your mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and quite often utilities as well. Don't buy a brand new car, because what's going to happen is as soon as you drive off the lot, the value of that car is going to decrease significantly. A great idea is to buy a car when it comes off the lease, and you can take a look at Consumer Reports rankings to see which cars have the highest rankings for reliability, for gas consumption, and maintenance as well. If you love to travel, absolutely do that. Don't skimp on that, but learn how you can use credit cards to get cash back, to be able to use miles, to be able to use hotel discounts to help you with your expenses. Focus on making food at home. One of my favorite things to do. You can check out some other YouTube channels and have programs that can actually teach you to cook something healthy in as little as 15 to 30 minutes. And when you eat out less in restaurants, also think about the fact that you now know what kind of food you're eating, because a lot of the times we don't know what kind of ingredients the restaurants use. Another important thing to consider here is essential versus non-essential or fluffy expenses. Essential are the things that are absolutely necessary for you to live on. Think about your housing, your food, your utilities, insurance, your groceries, and medicine, things like that. Those are necessities. And of course you have other fluffy things, the things that we like to have, like online books memberships, or streaming memberships, or a coffee subscription, like a coffee of the month club. Those things are nice to have, but they're not necessary to live. If you are definitely shopping for something that you need, wait for those items to go on sale. I'm going to link a great website that is going to show you when is the best time to buy certain things. Like, for example, if you're shopping for appliances or some big ticket items like TVs, the big holidays like 4th of July or Christmas are always great time to buy. Yet there are specific months and dates when it's a good time to buy other things. So check it out. And another point is if you really want to buy something, put it in the cart, but wait for a week and see if you still feel the same way. A lot of the times, those emotions are going to cool off and you're like, it's not a big deal. I don't really want it anymore. Point number 3, let's focus on avoiding as much as we can high interest debt. Think about the credit card debt. Try not to carry credit card balance. If you cannot afford to buy something outright, try not to buy it. Credit card debt is awful, and just about half of Americans have it. And if you think about it, credit cards charge between 20 and 24% interest on the balances that you carry. So let's focus on either not having it at all or paying it down as quickly as possible. Point number 4 is investing. Let's focus on maximizing the accounts that we have to make sure that we get our appropriate tax deductions. So think about traditional IRA, maxing out your Roth IRA, making sure that you're contributing the maximum amount allowed in your 401k, so that way you're also getting the match if your employer offers it, and making sure that you are saving as much money away pre-tax or after-tax money as much as possible. A really great tip for you to be able to do that is just go ahead and invest and save on autopilot, where you set it and it just gets done automatically every paycheck that you have. Here's a really great strategy that I have to share with you to help you so that way you don't overthink it, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know where to save, and then they go down that rabbit hole. Don't do it. Tuck your money away in low-cost index funds. And here's the example that I have from a book that I read that I'm also strongly recommending to you as well. So first, go for those funds that have the least expensive expenses, like Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab. So that's one. Number 2, J.L. Collins, from the book that I already mentioned to you, it's called The Simple Path to Wealth, recommends a simple formula like this. 75% of your investments are going to go into Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund. 25% is going to go into the Vanguard Total Market Bond Fund. And then the rest of it, which is 5%, is just going to sit in cash, and you can put that in the high yield savings account. That's it. Don't have to worry about it. Put it on autopilot and let the markets do its thing. And point number 5 is I encourage you to analyze your income. There are some professionals that recommend that you actually change jobs every 2 to 3 years. And that's entirely up to you, and it also depends on what kind of work you do. At the same time, kind of analyze what you're doing. Could you potentially ask for a bonus? Can you ask for a pay increase? What can you do to bump up the income that you have coming in every month? And if that's not an option, think about some side gigs. Can you potentially consult on the side? Can you do some other things where you can do Uber or Lyft, or you can deliver food or groceries? There are tons of side hustles that are also available to help you get some extra income going, and you can just take that income and put all of it towards your goal of retiring. And the bonus point that I want to assure you today, and I want you to be mindful about it, is that this is not an easy plan. It's a plan, and it's definitely doable, but it's going to take you very great discipline, big focus, and just hustling down, putting your head down and getting to work. But I want you to think about it this way. What you're doing is saving the money so that way you can have the best retirement possible, which is 30% of your life. Don't you think that you deserve that? You absolutely do, and it's totally worth it. So, when there is a will, there is a way. Please share with us your best saving tips that you are using to help you save for retirement, so that way we can share it with others to help them on their own retirement journey.